Hi everyone, let us dive into the word. In today's Gospel, Luke 21 verses 34 to 36, it says, "Be careful not to let yourself become occupied with too much feasting and drinking and with the worries of this life, or that day may suddenly catch you like a trap. For it will come upon all people everywhere on earth. Be on watch and pray always, that you will have the strength to go through safely all these things that will happen and to stand before the Son of Man." Upon reading the Gospel today, what came to me was the story of Jesus walking on water. And I was very reminded of how Peter, when he realized that it was Jesus who was walking on water, he called out to him and he said, "Lord, if it is truly you, command me to come onto the water with you." And Jesus says, "Come." And so Peter, he gets onto the water and he's focusing on Jesus, his eyes fixed on him, and he's able to walk on water. But suddenly when he realizes, the waves and the winds that are around him, he starts sinking. And what happens is that he lost his focus. He took his focus off of God, and that's why he started sinking. And I think a lot of us, we can relate with Peter. We try and focus on God, but it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed by things that are happening around us, and we tend to find ourselves sinking. And in the world that we live in today, with social media being such a huge influence in most of our lives, it's so easy for us to get the wrong idea of what is acceptable now. Things like smoking and drinking and premarital sex, all these things are deemed okay in the society that we live in today. And we spend hours and hours of our day just scrolling through our feeds, looking at what other people are posting, that we end up comparing ourselves to them, the way they look, the way they dress, the things that they have, and we eventually lose the internal truths that we have of ourselves. We forget that we are made in the image and likeness of God, and we are His children, and we forget that we are perfect to Him, despite what the world has to say about it, and for those who are working, we spend most of our time and energy at work, that at the end of the day we kind of feel like we don't have the energy or the mental capacity to spend time in worship or prayer. And so how do we get our focus back on God and off of the world? It may be different for everyone, but for me, what I do is I read a few chapters of the Bible a day, and that may be a bit heavy for some, so maybe you can start small. Start by reading maybe a chapter or even just a story a day, and then just spend some time reflecting on like what you've read, and ask God what He's trying to tell you through what you've read that day. And I know a lot of people who, like, you're working most of the day and don't really have the time to to read. There's always podcasts nowadays and videos on daily readings and reflections that can be really helpful in these kind of times. And besides reading the Bible, prayer can make a huge difference in your life. There's no need for you to spend hours and hours in prayer. Just spend like 5 minutes a day or something. Start your mornings off with prayer. Thank the Lord for that day and ask Him to guide you throughout your day, and end your day in prayer also, just by thanking Him for the blessings that you received that day. It really doesn't matter how long you spend in prayer, but rather the consistency of your prayer life. For me personally, growing up, I was never one to have a consistent prayer life, because I've never actually had that sort of relationship with God. But around 3 years ago, I started praying, and I kind of saw a difference, in my life, in the way I was, and the way everyone was around me, and like the circumstances that I was in. I could really see God working in my life. And so I made the decision to start having a relationship with God and to start having a consistent prayer life. And honestly, I could see so much of a difference as compared to when I never used to pray. And it's also really important to have community and good friends who are Christ-centered and that will lead you back to Christ whenever you go astray, and people who will really just encourage you in your walk in faith and encourage you to have that relationship with God, because that's what they want also. Because I think our goal at the end of the day is to have a relationship with God. And how do you have a relationship with someone that you don't spend time with, right? So yeah, we need to get our focus back on Christ and off of this world, because right now all we see is a small piece of what He has planned for our lives, and so we have to trust Him to help us live our best life. Thank you and God bless.